Hello and welcome to episode 28 of the Kingfisher Knits podcast. My name is Madeleine and I'm talking to you from my home in Zurich, where I live with my husband and our children. And I'm really glad to be back with you. It's been a long time. I didn't even look up when it was that I last recorded, but I'm going to guess it's been about a month. I would like to say thank you for all of you who are still coming back. I've still been gaining a few subscribers here and there, so that's been really encouraging, that even though I haven't been putting much out there, and I also have been pretty silent on Instagram, I mean generally over the last couple of months, and certainly I think I haven't looked at it for the last week or two. So that's just how things are right now. We've been very busy. For those of you who don't know, I'm pregnant. I'm currently just about reaching the end of my first trimester, and I was feeling rotten, totally rotten, really quite sick and very tired for the best part of the last 2 months. I haven't been knitting, and so I just needed to be doing other things when I had the energy, and the rest of the time not doing very much at all. So if this is the first time you're checking me out, things are still not going to be quite normal with this episode. I'm going to have a lot less to talk about, so do feel free to go back and watch other episodes to get maybe more of a better idea of what we're about. But anyway, it is August 2nd here. It's very hot. I think everybody knows that Europe's been having a heat wave. I haven't been minding the heat for the most part. It hasn't been too humid here, which is always great for me. As long as it's not that humid, I'm okay up to and exceeding about 30 degrees Celsius, and it's been above 30 degrees for the last 2 weeks, and also the weeks before that was often hitting 30, 32, 33. The last couple of days have been 35. Today is a bit cooler, which is very nice. Sorry, I'm British and I have to talk about the weather, even though I'm not in the UK. I still have to talk about the weather. Okay, so as I said, I haven't got a huge amount of knitting content to talk about, but hey, even when I'm not knitting, I'm still somehow always keen to talk about knitting. I have recently restarted watching podcasts after also not even being able to find the energy to watch podcasts most of the time, and I think gradually that feeling, that itching to get the needles in my hands and what have you is starting to come back, so that's encouraging. I wanted to start the episode by talking about KNITCRATE because it is now August and I haven't spoken about the July crate. Feels much like what happened last time around, but hey. For those of you who don't know, KNITCRATE is a subscription service, and they send out crates, boxes, which contain yarn and patterns and sometimes little extras depending on which of the options you sign up for. What they have sent me is their KNITCRATE membership, which is their standard membership, and it costs $24.99, that's US dollars. That includes postage worldwide, which I do still find quite amazing. And if you go to their website, you can see they have other options. They have KNITCRATE Sock, and then they have Sock Artisan and KNITCRATE Artisan, and those just mean that sort of the yarn that's featured in those boxes is a little bit more special, is dyed for them by other indie yarn dyers rather than their in-house dyers. Although all of the yarn which is included in their sock and KNITCRATE membership is all still hand-dyed yarn. It's just whether they're doing it in-house or having indie dyers. I have been sent this by KNITCRATE, as I have been sent the last 3 subscription boxes to review, and but my opinions are always my own, and I also will put links down below. The link is an affiliate link, so it does mean I get a small percentage should you choose to sign up for KNITCRATE. If you don't like affiliate links, by all means search for KNITCRATE on Google, that's fine. We also have a discount code. I'll put that down in the description box below. I believe it is Kingfisher 20, but I'll put it down in the box below below this video on YouTube, which is where you'll also find links to what we talk about during the episode. That gets you 20% off your first month's membership. So this last month, they always have a theme, and this time around it was Modern Primary. And what's included in the KNITCRATE membership is always 2 skeins of yarn with a retail value of $24 each. So basically you're for the price of 1 skein of yarn, you're getting the 2 skeins and the postage, and you get a knitting pattern and a crochet pattern. And you also get included some discount codes to normally for discounts off of other patterns by the same designer or designers on from their Ravelry page or their website, depending on what they are. So this time around, we have these 2 skeins. Normally in the Knit Crate, as far as I've always seen, they normally have about 4 different colour options that you might get. You don't get to choose the colour. That's always something with these kind of subscription services. Some people hate that and some people love the surprise. So you always get you know, one of the 4 different options, and this particular yarn is 100% superwash merino wool in a worsted weight. There's 164 meters or 180 yards for 100 grams. And this particular colorway has been called School Zone. And you can see that it is a variegated yarn. It has a sort of a really lovely soft dove grey going into a greyish blue. There is a pink, a soft pink, and there is quite a rich, slightly pinkish red. So for some people that will be just their jam, and other people not at all. As I have mentioned in the past, they do have a Ravelry group which is specifically set up in order to help people swap if they get to swap for a different colour option from that month. And they also have a de-stash section on their website where you can go to sell on your yarn should you have decided you're not into that particular month. So I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do with this club. With this box, last month's box, I gave away. I sent off to the winner. I did an Instagram giveaway. Yes, I did an Instagram giveaway. I haven't decided what I'm doing with this box quite yet. Also, it's a worsted weight wool. I might hang on to it for a little bit and perhaps do a giveaway, or give away one of the skeins and do something with one of the skeins. Anyway, just to show you off the crochet pattern this month was these yoga socks. So there you can see another one of the colorway options. And the knitting one was a cowl. Lovely open lacy cowl, and again I think that's yet another colour option, yes, because there's orange and purples in there. So that's what was included in this particular month. But of course, you know, I think these particular designs, I think while the cowl looks interesting, I probably wouldn't knit it in this type of variegated yarn. That's just my preference for how I like the look of things. But I do think whenever you get 2 skeins of the same yarn, there's always a lot of things that you can do with it. So you can, you know, look through your Ravelry library or other Ravelry patterns or books that you might have, and probably find good things to do with 2 skeins of yarn. Much easier than just 1 skein of yarn. So yeah, that was the Knit Crate July membership box, Knit Crate membership. Okay. I wanted to get that out of the way because, as I said, I was sent that for review about a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and I just haven't had the chance or inclination to do much about it. So, okay. Now, what I normally talk about first is whips, and then finished objects. There are no finished objects this week. Don't think that would be surprising to any of you. But I did show off this finished object last time around that I recorded, but I was not wearing it. I thought that I could manage to wear it today. Hasn't quite hit 32 degrees here yet, which I think will be the maximum. I'm okay, but I will not be wearing it after I finish filming. But I did just want to show it to you actually on me, so that in case you wanted to see that. So this was a test knit that I did for Leslie Ann Robinson, also known as Knit Graffiti. She is a very prolific brioche designer. This is the Spring Vibes. Is it Spring Vibes or Spring Vibes top? Anyway, it's the top, and it is. It features brioche, but it is mostly stockinette, and it is knit in the round. I'll just step up. It is an A-line top, so if I hold it out there, you can see. Can't quite see the bottom. I'll just lift that up a bit. There we go, because I can't stand up even taller. And so it's A-line. So there is decreases going on from the bottom hem up. The bottom hem is also brioche. So it's brioche down there, and then you have this brioche panel featuring at the front. What you might be able to see is that there is a slight it looks like there's a deep, dipped hem, and that's just because the brioche row gauge up the front panel, the row gauge is shorter, so that's slightly shorter, giving this quite nice, quite flattering effect around the bottom. I'm sorry that you can't see that, but I can't make myself stand up taller. Anyway, so then it's bottom up with this brioche panel, and then there is also brioche here around the edge of the sleeves, which is picked up and knit at the end. There is quite a wide, kind of a boat neck, maybe not quite a boat neck, but and it's just finished with a rolled. This is just stockinette, which rolls down, and I really quite like that effect here. I think it looks really nice just above the brioche. The yarn I used was the final colourway, which was called Dawn of a New Day, the final colourway from Bedonvolle. This was her barefoot sock, which was an 80-20 merino nylon blend fingering weight. The pattern yarn is a light fingering weight. I think it was Yoth yarns, which is Yoth yarns of the Best Friend base, a yarn on the house, which is a 50-50 merino cotton, I believe. So quite a few test knitters knit them in, plant-based blends, part wool, part cotton or linen. Mine is instead in wool, which probably gives it a slightly different feel, and it's not quite suitable for high summer. But I think it'll be good for me also going forwards, increasing in belly size, because there's a lot of space going on here, but I still find it flattering up around the top, which is kind of how I like things to fit. So that's just a little bit more information about that. I know you've heard about it before, but it feels like ages ago since I spoke about it, so excuse me, being a bit warm. So I'm not going to have any FOs later on, but let's just get into whips. And last time around I had told you that I think just before I started to feel really sick, I had cast on a shawl, and it's called the Rune shawl. It's by Helen Stewart, Curious Handmade Designs, and it was part of her Shawl Society season 2. Now Shawl Society season 3 is underway, I believe. Anyway, it's a bit tricky to show off because, big shawls on circular needles get bunched up, but I'm just going to show you this bit because I have started the bind off. It's my first ever Picot bind off, and so I can just show you this bit where I've started to bind off, so you can start to see, the look of the shawl. And the yarns that I've used, this yarn here, sorry the needle is bashing, this yarn here, which I can also show you in the cake, this is fondant fibre. This is her Austin base, which is a superwash merino cashmere nylon blend. I'm not sure I've got the tag here to say the exact proportions, whether it's like an 80-10-10 or I'm not sure. Anyway, and this colourway is a custom colourway, so it's called Madeleine's Peacock. It was part of a club where you could, one of the skeins of yarn you got within the club was something that you asked for, or you just gave her a colour, or I just gave the word peacock as inspiration, and this is what she came up with, and it's beautiful. So that's what I've used as my colour A. Excuse me. I'm showing you the wrong side. There we go. I thought it looked a bit funny. Bit out of practice. So let's get that end out the way. So there we go. So Madeleine's Peacock, and I paired it with another merino cashmere nylon yarn that I had in my stash. This is from Knitting in France. I believe the colour, this is called her Cash Sock, which is 80%, so 80-10-10 superwash merino cashmere nylon, and it's called Soft Variegation was the colourway. So I thought they went really quite nicely together. From the moment I got this, I pulled out this skein and wound them up the very same day to go together. Oh. All right. So as I said, I did change the pattern slightly. Maybe I'll talk about it more. It's just the very end. I think I'll talk about it more when it's finished. I just did a slightly different thing right here at the end. But I'm doing the Picot bind off because I've never done one. And on this pattern, on her sample, I thought it looked really nice. So I thought, okay, I know it's going to take me forever. And indeed, this feels like, already this bit feels like it's taking me forever. And it's not much of the whole thing, which is all, bunched up down here. But hey, I'll get it done, and I wanted to give it a go. So you can maybe just about see, is it easier if I put it behind the wall? This is the main feature sort of the pattern, is that down the middle spine you have these little eyelet pattern that gets repeated. I think it would be better to show it off once it's done and not all bunched up. I haven't weighed the yarn to see how much I used. The pattern says that you'll use a bit more of colour B than colour A, and I think colour A, it said you'll use about 3/4 of the skein. As I said, I haven't weighed them to see how much is left right now, and I will do that and let you know. I'm knitting this on high sharps. I believe they're 4mm needles. Yeah, they're from my interchangeable set, so that's US size 6. And that is living in my project bag from So Sweet Violet. Another thing which I have picked up and worked on a tiny bit, and I kind of now am at the point where I'm just thinking, is it actually in this project bag? It is. I'm almost done. This project, I haven't got sock blockers with me. These are a pair of socks. They're a pair of Cookie socks. I cast them on so long ago. I mean like 2 years ago. And it didn't take me that long to finish the first sock, but it was my first ever and still remains my only ever, you know, lacy sock. It's a bit tricky to see when there isn't a sock blocker, but this is the pattern. These are the Angie socks by Cookie. They're in a book of hers that I have. The yarn that I've used here is yarn from Spinnwebstube, which is here in Switzerland. She is a dyer, and she also has her own yarn store, both stocking her own yarns and other yarns. She stocks things like Rosy Green and the Fibre Company, amongst others. And this is her 75% wool, extra fine wool, 25% silk sock yarn base. She doesn't have names for her colour. For her colours, I chose this yarn, and then I decided to knit socks for my mother because this made me think of Monet, and my mum loves Monet paintings. And I'm quite far now on the second sock. Of course, I'm all tangled up. These I'm knitting on 2.5mm, I believe. Chowgu red lace needles. Where's the? These are 2.5mm, which are US 1.5s. They're red lace needles. This is a fixed circular needle that I have, and I'm now at the point where I think I have less than one. Everything's tangled. I have less than one lace repeat to go on the foot before I'm done. So here's the heel turn. I've done, finished all the decreases. So not much further to go, and this foot finishes. So, you know, I'm about here basically. So I have to do a bit more lace and then the toe. So I really want to get these finished. I think that will give me another big sense of achievement, because it doesn't feel like that long till these will be done, and also that shawl, and then I kind of have something cleared off. Although this is something old to clear off the needles, which I'm very happy to do, but this was something that got cast on relatively recently, in that it was before. It was when I was starting to feel a bit not great, and I had nothing super simple on the needles at all. I had nothing that was just plain stockinette or plain garter on the needles, and I thought, well, I need something that I can just, however I feel I can knit. And I cast that on and did well for about a week, and then even that was too much. So anyway, my point is, I'm glad to get a couple of things off the needles, and I'll just have to wait and see to get some older things off the needles. In my desperation to get my mojo back, thinking that, I mean, for a while I didn't fight it, and then I started to get panicked that I wasn't feeling the desire to knit to come back, and I had yarn ready caked up, and I had done a gauge swatch for a pattern which I told you guys that I wanted to knit. It's the Serafina top by Irina, Anikieva or Anikeva. She is also known as Irmian Design. She's a very talented designer. So this is the Serafina top, and I don't want to show off the schematic. I know some people show off schematics, but I kind of feel like sometimes it gives away a lot about the design. So it's got this beautiful lace and cable panel on down the shoulder and the sleeve, or the saddle sleeve, and lovely texture along the rest of the body. So it's a tee, really. And I had some yarn. So this is yarn from Sidi Spint, which is another Swiss yarn dyer. She also has a store, and she also sells yarn that isn't just her own yarn. She's in Bern, and this is her base, her merino, either cable or cablé. I've seen it written with an accent and without base, and this is basically a yarn which is made up of a lot of plies, and it's very, very round, and it's meant to be very good for cables and stitch definition. And so I have a skein, I think I have a couple of skeins, of her undyed, the undyed of the yarn, and I also have 3 skeins of the Stein, which means stone, colourway. I'm not taking them out the plastic right now. So my plan is to make the just the lace panel in the natural colour and the rest in this grey. I'm a bit pushing it for yardage of what's stated. So I've decided I'm doing the smallest size because it's got quite a lot of positive ease and I don't like a huge amount of positive ease. I think I'd worked out that if I did the smallest size, but potentially, because what you do is you knit these lace panels and then you pick up to knit the rest, I might just knit the, basically the armhole depth. So these rows down here a little bit deeper if I'm worried that in the smaller size, the smallest size would make the sleeves a bit tight. But if I am running out of yarn, then at the end you pick up all of the, what do you call these? All of the ribbed edges, the neckband, and the end of the sleeves and the like. I could, of course, use this. I have yet another skein of this, and I'm not even going to need this full skein even to do everything that I had just said. So I have swatched. The gauge for this pattern is given on 3.5mm needles, I believe. Yeah, it was 23 stitches in stockinette, and I thought that I hadn't got gauge initially, but after letting the swatch rest a little bit before remeasuring it, so not just measuring it the very day it was dry, but leaving it a couple of days, so it actually pulled back that little bit more, and the gauge was perfect. So I've gone ahead with 3.5mm needles. I'm using my higher sharp interchangeables, and this is as far as I've got. So you start with the 2 lace, what do you call them? She calls them saddles. So these panels, and yeah, I think I'm nearly halfway with one of them, and I stopped. But I did really, when I was doing this, I did enjoy it. And then just since then, to pick it back up again seemed like a lot of effort. But it's got these beautiful, cables going around. It's got these little gathered sort of stitches, wrapped sections here, and I think it's beautiful. So I'm not sure when. I mean, I kind of want to get through the lace panels so that then I can get onto the rest of the garment, and that's basically stockinette. There are these textured parts. Textured ridges, which I believe are made up from, if I read the pattern ahead, I did read ahead in the pattern, but I've already forgotten. These are made up of some kind of slip stitch, simple slip stitch pattern. So anyway, I'm also glad to have that on the needles, but yeah. As you can tell, things here are a little bit subnormal on the knitting front. That's fine. So those are all my whips and things that I've actually touched in the past month since I've spoken to you. And I was thinking now that we are going away, not really for a holiday, we're going to America for about a week, and I need something simple to knit on the plane. I don't know if I'll have much time to knit actually when we're there, so either a sock, or I was even thinking a sock head hat would be perfect, also because thinking about going on the plane, and I do not have any wooden sock needles. So I could do something I've done in the past, which is I cast on my socks on an interchangeable needle set, yeah, and I unscrew the needle tips and I just put them like in a pencil case in my luggage, in my hand luggage, so that they don't draw attention, and then you just screw them back onto your cable to knit when you're on the plane. So I could do that. I might anyway cast on some kind of sock to bring with me, a simple sock. And thinking sock-wise, I had pulled out this beautiful sock set that I've been saving for a while. This is yarn from the Cozy Knitter. This is my only other, my only indie dyed self-striping yarn that I have currently in my stash. And this is the Bye Birdster colourway, and I just love it. So that's one option. I thought I could cake that up because it's so beautiful, and I would just love to, I know I would love knitting on it. That's one thought. Another skein which I had pulled out, which is another skein which I've always thought was destined to be socks, is this skein of Hedgehog Fibres. This was a club colourway. I'm not sure they tell you on them the month, so they all have names. This is called Seapray, but their club colourways are non-repeatable. This was from at some point in, I think it was last year. Doesn't feel like it could be longer than last year. Anyway, I love this base. This is their twist sock. It's 100 grams, 365 meters. So it's a nice, it's not too fine. And it's 80% blue face Leicester and 20% nylon. I already have a pair of socks out of this base. And I just love these colors. And it also feels very beachy and summery. So that's another option. I was thinking, so those I was thinking for socks. Thinking more about sock head hats. Which are good, and I didn't finish why they're good. I knit my sock head hats on 16-inch circulars, and I have, for my 16-inch circulars, I only have wooden needle tips, those the short tips. I have Knit Pros, Symphonies. So that's perfect for the plain wooden tips. I've brought them on the plane several times before, I've never had a problem. And again, good for the plane, you just go around and around and around. And normally, for a flight across the Atlantic, one sock head hat would not make me think that's enough knitting, but for the way we're going with kids, and I'm not knitting a ton at the moment, so that sounds like maybe that will be enough for me. So for sock head hats, I have this 50-gram skein which I had got and promised my daughter to make her socks with. Which I might still do. It's from Knitting in France. Also, this is from Knitting in France, and it's a 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend. It's 50 grams, 200 meters. And when I make a sock head hat, especially if I were to make it for my daughter, which I think I would, she doesn't have a lightweight kind of hat at the moment. She wears mine if she wants one. This would definitely be enough yarn for that. I've made myself a sock head hat and I used 50 grams. So I would probably just do a little less slouchy or a little bit less ribbing or something, and it would be enough. So that's one option, which I think would make a very nice sock head hat, rather than maybe making her socks with it. Another option for a sock head hat was this beautiful skein. This would be for me. I just can't decide if I want this skein to be socks. I find it's too beautiful. For me, for socks, I just, oh God, look at that. This is like my absolute jam in a skein. It's so beautiful. This is from Family Tree Yarns, the lovely Jane. This is her Standing Stones colourway, and it's my favourite blend. It's a high twist, superwash merino nylon, 80-20, sorry, superwash merino nylon. So it would make lovely socks. It's gorgeous, but I also keep thinking you can't just have it in socks. It needs to go in a shawl. But then it's only one skein, I have to pair it with something else, and nothing else is going to do it justice. I don't know, I have a real block with this skein because I just love it. I love it so much. It's not picking, there's also green here that it's just like not picking up. There we go, you can kind of get it. Anyway, so I had thought again, maybe a sock head hat would be good in that, but I'm not sure. And this is another skein which I thought would make a nice sock head hat. This is another skein of Knitting in France. It is a 100% non-superwash merino, 20 micron base. It's high twist, really lovely. It's a tonal, it's not, you can't see much tonality there, but there's a lot of tonality there. It's a bit more, it's a touch more peachy than you're seeing there. And it's 100 grams, 400 meters, and it's totally beautiful. And I kind of feel like, you know, if you had some left over of this, because I would only use about half of it for a sock head hat, that would go really nice. At some point that will pair up with another yarn. To go with a shawl, or to be an accent, to be a contrasting colour with something. And I wouldn't make socks with this, personally. It is very high twist, but it is both non-superwash and pure merino, which would make it hardier being that it's non-superwash, but I just think in terms of practicality, I would die if I washed my pair of socks and they felted. So these are all things, you know, I'm putting skeins out. I'm trying to get myself into the mindset of putting on something new. Anyway, the other thing that I wanted to talk about with you was Another idea was that I thought I might cast on something for the baby, and I keep gravitating towards this skein. This is a skein of Bakery Bears yarn from the lovely Kay of Bakery Bears. It is her Devonshire base, which is 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. It's high twist, which I just love. It's called her Toasted Teacake colourway, and I just think it's just a beautiful, beautiful colour, and I just keep thinking, wouldn't like a little baby cardigan, like a newborn vertebrae, or maybe a pullover, or some, you know, one of those sort of jumpers, but that, you know, opens up here or does up down the side or something. Wouldn't that be really, really beautiful in that? It's too early now for us to know the sex of the baby. We did not find out the sex of our first 2 children, but given that it's very probable that we're moving, maybe before baby comes, maybe after baby comes, I think in order to prepare that we're going to have to start, you know, clearing out this house and packing everything away, that I think this time around we might find out the sex of the baby, so that we can clear out things that we're not going to use, things that are very, you know, very little baby gender specific. But regardless, I would happily put a girl or a boy in something knit in this gorgeous, gorgeous colourway. So that's another thing that I was thinking about doing. Okay. That's enough for musings on yarn and possible projects. I have one skein of yarn that I wanted to show you, which I was sent a little while ago now, and I didn't have a chance to show to you. And this is a skein of yarn from the wonderful Helen at the Wool Kitchen. And I asked her if she would be happy to provide yarn support for design. This is before I knew I was pregnant and didn't feel so well. So I do, while this was always meant to be a project to come out much later in the year, I just still feel bad that I didn't show you the skein off to you. This is her 100% blue-faced Leicester Superwash Aran weight base in her wonderful Champagne Supernova colourway, which is this one, which just has these neon stunning speckles just at one point. So this is for a hat design, which I have sort of planned out. I'm not casting it on right now because it's Aran weight yarn, and once things cool down, I will obviously get that cast on, and this will be for something coming, you know, later in the year, for when Aran weight is appropriate. So, but anyway, I just wanted to actually show you that gorgeous skein. So I wanted to say thank you very much to everybody for who still tuned into the podcast, and people, you know, new people who are coming along and subscribing. And given that things have been a bit sparse, I wanted to do a little giveaway, and I wanted to give away something that was sort of dear to my heart. And this is a lovely skein of yarn that I was given by the wonderful Bogger of Knitting in France. And this is a skein of a very special base, which I believe she didn't dye, she didn't stock very much of, but she did give me this skein of it, and it is a 50% non-superwash alpaca, 25% linen, and 25% silk base, 100 grams for 400 meters for 100 grams, so it's got just gorgeous drape there. So I would like to give this skein away to a lovely podcast viewer. So I didn't mention at the top of the episode, but we do have a Ravelry group. It is called Kingfisher Knits. All the links for where you can find me online, on Instagram and the like, are always down below this video in the description box on YouTube. So if you go down there and you can go to the groups, the link for the group, and you'll find a thread. So I think what I will do is I will say if you leave a comment on the giveaway thread, I will open up a giveaway thread for this skein on Ravelry. And if you leave a comment, then that's enough. I might think of a prompt, but I might not. It might just be anything that you feel like you fancy saying, or if you have a question that you'd like to ask me or what have you, then that'll be perfectly valid. I think that's what I'll do. I'll just say, if you want to ask me a question, ask me a question. Otherwise, just tell me something nice, and you'll have a chance to win this. And I'll put it together with a couple of other goodies, some stitch markers or something like that. And probably, yeah, maybe, I mean, right now it's super, super hot, but if it cools down by the time I send this, which will probably not be, I probably won't draw for this for a couple of weeks, then there might be, you know, some Swiss chocolate involved, unless you hate Swiss chocolate. Anyway, so I would very much like to give away this gorgeous, gorgeous, very special skein with such a special blend, alpaca, linen, silk. I think it's gorgeous. So yeah, that's everything that I had that I wanted to talk about. I did not talk about knit-alongs and well, no, I say knit-alongs and giveaways, that's a giveaway, but knit-alongs at the beginning of the episode. We do currently have the mixed base cal. It's still going on. I'm going to keep that open. I'm still getting people putting in finished objects and new people joining in here and there, and I will get back to my mixed base knitting when I'm feeling up to it. The projects, I had one, did I have 2 projects? I feel like I had 2 projects that were mixed base, but certainly one of them, and it involves mohair. It's too hot for that. It involves mohair knitted, lace knitted with, sorry, it's a lace pattern in lace weight mohair, which involves concentration and mohair, and it's too hot for concentration or mohair right now. So anyway, and any of you who are in a similar situation, then that's fine. I don't want people to feel, because a lot of people I think chose projects using mohair, and I think with this heat wave that's going on, a lot of people are not feeling the mohair right now. I know some people are, that's fine, but you know, most of us in Europe don't have air conditioning, and so yeah, mohair leads to sticky fingers when it's hot. So I will leave that open, and I feel like we'll pick that up with a bit more gusto in autumn or towards the end of the summer, and then we'll maybe have a little discussion about when we want to round that off. Okay, I think that's everything that I had to talk to you about today. Thank you very much. Again, I feel like I've actually rambled on for quite a long time now, but shorter episode, definitely lower on the content, but it's just really nice to be back chatting with you all again, and I hope you're all well. I hope you're enjoying the summer. I know not everyone out there loves summer. I do, but not everyone does, so I'm sorry if you're struggling, and you know, I feel like we're getting to the second half of it by now. I will talk to you again as soon as I can. Hopefully that will not be more than a couple of weeks, but we'll see. Okay, that's all for now. Bye!